Welcome to another edition of the Fifth Quarter. I'm Mike Ciarochi, sports editor of Herald-Standard.com, joined as always by George Von Benko, author of Memory Lane, and a radio personality at WMBS AM 590 on your dial. George, we're here today to talk about Sunday's third consecutive big game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're at Cincinnati, taking on a 6-2, surprisingly 6-2 Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes, surprising, but a lot of doubters still out there about the Bengals because of the schedule they've played.
I'm one of them.
But it's interesting. I was at the locker room the other day, and of course, you've got to bounce back from a disheartening loss to Baltimore in the final seconds. But this team is a pretty resilient bunch. They've got a lot of veteran leadership the Steelers do in the locker room. I didn't sense anything different in the locker room in that regard. Now, if there's one thing that does concern you, it's some of the injuries again. Their wide receiver core is pretty banged up right now. Mike Wallace and
Emmanuel Sanders.
Antonio Brown are the only two completely healthy wide receivers right now.
Hines Ward did practice yesterday, I believe.
Yes.
I think he's going to be good to go.
Sanders had surgery, so he's out for at least for a few weeks. Cotchery is battling a hamstring, a knee problem, and Arnaz Battle is battling a hamstring problem. And so they may, at some point, if those guys can't go, you might have to look at Tyler Grisham being promoted. He's on I saw him in the locker room the other day. He's on the practice squad. So there is a little concern in that regard.
Of course, they still have 83 healthy and good to go. Heath Miller, the tight end. So, I understand that the Bengals are an up and coming team, and they've really made tremendous strides this year. They'll have to prove it to me though, and I guess they could do that this Sunday. I just don't think they're a for real legitimate threat to.
Well, we're going to find out about them because they have not played the Steelers yet, and they have not played the Ravens
yet.
Right,
they haven't played the Ravens. They may have played Cleveland.
They have played Cleveland. Now, what's interesting about them is they're very highly ranked defensively. They're playing well defensively. Coming into, I think, as of October 31st, only the 49ers, Ravens, and the Steelers had allowed fewer points than the Bengals. Interesting stat.
Yeah, it is. And I think on defense is where there's a lot of carryover from previous years in Cincinnati. Offensively,
well, they cleaned house.
Yeah, it's a much different, apparently new and improved, much younger offensive team.
He's got some guys, Marvin Lewis does, who are sort of on the same page with him. I mean, the offensive unit was... it went its own way last year. With Terrell Owens is gone, Chad Ochocinco is gone, and Carson Palmer is gone.
The only consistent part of their offense from last year is Cedric Benson, the running back,
who had his problems. He was suspended earlier this year, but he is averaging 3.9 yards a carry. They have a decent running game, and the big surprise offensively has been the way that Andy Dalton, the rookie quarterback from TCU, has performed for them. He's limited his mistakes. He's made some good passes. He's not beating them, by making mistakes. That being said, a rookie quarterback going up against a Dick LeBeau defense. LeBeau is 12-1 in his career against rookie quarterbacks. The only guy that got the win.
Go ahead.
Troy Smith for Baltimore.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And you see how well that served Troy Smith. Huh?
Yes.
I don't even know if he's still in Baltimore.
I'm not even sure if he's
the quarterback of the Ravens.
One other guy that bears mentioning, Dalton does have a dynamic rookie receiver to throw to. That's A.J. Green out of the University of Georgia. And they appear to be developing into, they're starting to mesh a little bit.
Those guys were both early round draft picks.
Yes, they were.
A.J. Green was a first rounder?
I believe so.
Dalton was, did they have two first rounders?
They had two first round picks. I think they had two first round picks. Yeah. But they're starting to develop a chemistry, and for the future, those two guys look bright for Cincinnati in the future. But I still want to be shown some things.
I said the same thing a few minutes ago, and I guess I should clarify that a little bit, because I think I was saying similar things to this a few weeks ago about the Steelers. that they similar things in the sense that Cincinnati has played a softer schedule so far than have the Steelers or the Ravens, but you can only play
who you play.
Right.
Yeah.
You cannot. The league comes up with the schedule and they hand you a copy of it and you just say, okay, well, we got to be here this day, there that day, back home for this one. So there is still some. They still have to prove it to me, but I will give them the caveat that they didn't come up with the schedule. They didn't,
And the interesting thing about them is
making the most of it.
They have been involved in several close games, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And to Andy Dalton's credit, as a rookie quarterback, he has found a way to win for them, that's impressive.
Yeah, it is. Now, going up against the LeBeau defense that is kind of on the, early stages of getting its health back. You got James Harrison back last week, had a tremendous
Farrier practiced the other day. Woodley did not practice, so he still remains a question
He'll probably
mark.
miss this week, I would imagine.
Well, it might behoove them to do that, too, with a bye week coming, give him that much rest and have him ready for down the stretch. Now, the big news, of course, out of Steeler camp this week was the fine to Ryan Clark.
Mm-hmm.
40 grand for the hit on Ed Dixon.
Yeah.
People were wondering about the head-to-head hit with Ray Lewis and Hines Ward. He got fined 20 grand.
20 grand. And, numbers being what they are, it's not coming out of my pocket, so what would I care? But, Ray Lewis is not a repeat offender.
And Clark was fined 15 grand the week before.
Right. And there's a pattern there with Ryan Clark, although
Tomlin went out of his way to point. In fact, he showed it to the people and said, "This is the way to break up a pass play."
So that one may be up for further review with the league. But as Ryan Clark himself said, it's not going to get changed.
I don't think it's going to get changed. There is a distinct possibility. People were talking the other day when I was at practice that they may reduce.
Maybe it may be reduced a little bit.
Yeah,
but I guess the league has its opinion that it was an illegal hit, and the Steelers have their opinion that it was not.
Well, what was your opinion when you saw it?
When I saw it live, I thought he hit him with the helmet.
But when I saw it again, it was slower. I thought maybe he got it a little bit here, but he got him mostly in the chest.
Yeah. Conversely, the Ray Lewis hit I thought was an easy.
Oh, and they didn't even look at it.
Didn't even Yeah. It was an easy call. It was almost intentional the way he butted his head up.
They're over Baltimore now. They're past them, but there still was some muttering in the locker room about the officiating crew.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they would go out of their way to say it cost them the game, but they said that there were some strange things happening.
Yeah, there were. Even up to the last call of the game.
If you look at that, you could very easily make that call the other way because he pushed off William Gay.
And there were some push-offs earlier in the game that went uncalled as well. But what about James Harrison? Is he going to be fined, or is that a fine that is not going to be disclosed by the league?
Nobody said anything about it yesterday when I was down there, and I guess we're still going to have. I'm sure if he gets fined, James is going to say something.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But getting back to it, we talked a little bit about their offense with Dalton and Cedric Benson and A.J. Green and some of the things that their defense highly ranked. The interesting thing about their defense is they have recorded 18 sacks this year, and they have been able to generate the pass rush with their down linemen, which does not bode well for the Steelers' offensive line. 18 sacks, 12 of them by defensive linemen. So they have made a push up front. And the guy who's probably playing as well as anybody in their defense is the free safety, Reggie Nelson, who is leading in tackles. He's just been all over the field. He's had a really, really good season for them so far.
Well, free safety being all over the field kind of sounds somewhat normal.
Yes,
I'm sure Ben Roethlisberger wouldn't mind seeing him all over the field instead of in the backfield.
Right.
That way.
Yeah. Well, they got to. Now, Legursky did practice, so they may be getting healthy up front again with some people. But that's going to be a concern whether the offensive line of the Steelers can control the defensive line of Cincinnati because they have been the strength of their defense so far, the Bengals defensive line.
Geno Atkins. A lot of turnovers?
Actually, They're about in the middle of the pack in turnovers.
Okay, because the reason I ask is the Steelers came up with their fourth.
Yeah, they're still on a pace.
Low.
Oh, they're on a pace to have the worst turnover margin that a team has had in years. And some of the guys are starting to get a little concerned about that. There was some talk about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't go out of your way to say, "Hey, we're going to force a turnover here." It happens,
and they kind of happen in bunches.
And they have been unlucky in some regards. They forced a fumble on the kickoff, but the Ravens recovered. Right. They have not been opportunistic with some of the loose balls.
I think it was Ed Bouchette who mentioned going into last week's game. Before the Baltimore game, he said they're on a pace for 6 turnovers, which is easy because they had 3 and they got their 4th one. You got to figure they'll get more than that.
You got to figure they'll get more than that. But if they stay on that pace, that's just one of the worst in NFL history.
Oh yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah.
Now, but offensively, the Steelers, even in their loss last week, I think they moved the ball well. They got a lot of things accomplished that they needed to accomplish. Just didn't quite score enough, I guess. Didn't have it in them to get the first downs at the end of the game. What do you think of?
Well, there's still a lot of people talking about the clock management at the end of the game, and that goes. I mean, Tomlin admitted in his press conference that he made a mistake on the field goal. That's why they got the delay of game penalty. And some people were wondering about the last drive. They did throw that pass to David Johnson, and you and I talked about that. If he catches it, he said, but if you do run it, you either force them to use the turnover or you run 40 more seconds off the clock. So it's just one of those things.
Okay. What do you expect out of the Steelers' offense this week, George?
If they can keep Roethlisberger clean, I think they could have a big day. Mm-hmm. I want to see them handle this Bengal pass rush. I'm concerned about that. If they're able to keep him clean, I think he's going to. Now, that, of course, being said, who's going to line up at wide receiver? You're going to have, some changes there. I'd like to see them be able to run the ball a little bit more effectively.
They kind of did okay with that, I think, against Baltimore. But I mean, there's always room for improvement, and this is certainly a case. We can make a case for that. They can do it better.
And I think the Steeler defense, after what happened against Baltimore, they need to step up and make a statement.
You know
they
what?
really do.
I think they may take it out on Mr. Dalton this week. Take out all their frustrations. Hopefully Ryan Clark can avoid a $60,000 fine.
Well, it's really funny. I saw Dick LeBeau, and some of the people are on, as fans are, Mr. 92, they're calling him and everything. And I said, man, you're really taking some heat. And he says, Georgie, it's a short walk from the penthouse to the outhouse. That's the way he looks at it. He never gets too excited about it. He said, I don't worry about that stuff.
And he's going back home to a degree this weekend. Cincinnati not real far from his hometown.
Well, he led them as a defensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah, he was a head coach there as well.
He was head coach there, and he led them to the Super Bowl the one year against San Francisco when they lost in the last minute on the touchdown pass to Jerry Rice.
From Joe Montana.
Okay, so I like the Steelers. How about you?
I like the Steelers to win too. You want to put a score on it or not?
I think they'll win by 13 points, 10 or 13 points, somewhere 10 points.
Okay, I think it's going to be a bigger blowout than that. I'm kind of thinking 35-21, maybe something like that.
I would not.
Except, don't tell LeBeau I said they were going to go up 21 points.
No, I won't tell him that. But I'll take that score. Yeah. I'll take a win any way you can get it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about all the time we have. I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.